95% of the prisoners are returning back to the community. How do we want them to return? Do we want them to be angry and bitter, having not accomplished anything, or do we want to install positive things that allow them to look forward to the future and change, not only for them, but for their families and communities and everyone?
Prisons and jails represent the apex of the government's control and power over the individual. They are places that exercise total control over the lives of the people inside. And when you've got total control over someone, bad things can happen.
My name is Gabriel Garcia. We're at the Washington State Reformatory, Monroe Correctional Complex. I've been in prison since February 17, 1988, 29 years. And I contacted hepatitis C in 1987, and in 2001 I was approved for a hepatitis C protocol treatment. When this process started, my hepatitis was stage 0. Now my hepatitis C is stage 1 or 2, and I'm being told that I cannot be treated until my hepatitis C reaches stage 3 or 4 till it progresses.
My name is Timothy Pauley. I have to watch sick people that can barely walk up and down a flight of stairs, have to walk down a flight of stairs and walk around a tower and walk back up another flight of stairs to go get their medication. They get halfway up the stairs and they're out of breath and they're standing there holding onto the railing, and I don't know what I can do for them. I think independent oversight could easily resolve this issue, but it's under our current state of affairs that's not going to be resolved.
My name is Julie Tackett. I live in Monroe, Washington, and I have a family member who's currently incarcerated at the Special Offenders Unit in Monroe. When he is under stress or his medication is not working, he will engage in self-harm, mutilate himself, put wires or paper clips into his body. A paperclip incident can be $40,000 a pop to the Washington taxpayers. He was in Harborview for 5 days with a collapsed lung.
So we spend tremendous amounts of taxpayer money on prisons and jails, and we don't know what's going on in them. Are they working? Are there ways that things can be done in a better fashion? Can prisoners be kept safer? Can they be treated more humanely? Can staff be made more safe by the ways that we operate these facilities?
My name is Aaron.
My name is Madi Barrero. I am connected to DOC as a family member and spouse to Mr. Barrero here.
I served 18 and a half years on a 23-year sentence. I sat in the hole for 104 days. And the policy is I was only supposed to be there 60 days. But it wasn't until I found out what the policy was and had someone call headquarters that anything got done. Nothing was going to get done at that level at the prison.
We would be providing DOC their own policies in order to say, this is what you're not following, and this is why we're not asking for any special treatment. We're asking for what your policy already states.
The department seeks to reduce tension and provide a stable correctional environment by providing a formal mechanism to address conflict through the administrative resolution of complaints. This process is known as the Offender Grievance Program.
I was in prison when they started the grievance process, and I've watched it evolve over the years. I've used it a number of times. I used it at the very beginning, and I try and avoid it as much as possible because it's often not a sufficient remedy to what it is that I'm seeking.
Majority of the time they're going to tell you this is not grievable. They're going to pick and choose, oh well, you didn't word this correctly, or you did something wrong, oh, so you can't grieve this, you're past your 3 days, your 10 days. If you do have a grievable issue, you're grieving it to someone who works in the same building, who works hand in hand with the individuals who you're probably writing the grievance against.
There's no process where you could have somebody that's not involved make a ruling, whether it be in favor or against you.
We have no actual formal process for family members. And again, if there is, for the grievance process for them, there's always fear of retaliation. And
that's a huge one too.
They officially never retaliate for the grievance process, but they also do it. They just don't officially announce it. My name is Jeff Connor. I was incarcerated for 18 and a half years. In the open prison bars, people walking by the cell can see the entire cell, which includes, of course, the toilet, which faces out. And they used to have privacy curtains, and they decided to take them away. People were complaining about it, and this one gentleman, his name was Jeff, he grieved it. And what they did was they transferred him. And Monroe is, for most people, it's considered a privileged place. You have a single man cell, you have a single man shower, unlike Walla Walla. And typically you're closer to your family because there's not many other prisons that are close by to the greater Seattle area. So he was sent out, and then that of course negates his grievance. But it also sent a message to everyone else. Go ahead and grieve this. You will be sent out. So one of the things that you can't grieve is you can't grieve on the behalf of someone else. If there was an independent prison oversight, I could inform them of the situation and say, you need to take a look at this.
An independent board, is just that. It's someone who's independent, who's not going to be influenced because they're not working inside the prisons or in a state office.
They have appointed a DOC Ombudsman, but he works for the Department of Corrections. How many people report against their boss?
It has to absolutely be outside of DOC. It cannot be in DOC. You can't oversee yourself.
And you're asking about why is it so important to have oversight in a prison or jail. It's because that routine monitoring acts as a form of informal social control over the actions of staff and other inmates when there's an outside set of eyes coming in, seeing what's happening. That's one thing. But the other is that it's a form of prevention and early identification of problems. You fix them before they turn into complaints and problems that can lead to liability and lawsuits.
Time and time again, DOC will protect their own. And time again, I have seen them respond appropriately when there is outside oversight.
You have people who are in there who are broken, obviously. Obviously, at some point in their lives, drugs, alcohol, violence, these people are making poor choices, not knowing how to conduct themselves in the communities. But they are people, and they are people who can be redeemed. They can be transformed back to someone who does love themselves, who does love the community, and can come back. They're people's sons, brothers, fathers, mothers. They're people in there.
There's a bill in the Washington State Legislature that would create an independent corrections ombuds office to provide external oversight, monitoring, outreach, and advocacy for inmates, family, and staff to address issues arising in our state's prisons. Make our prisons and communities safer and support this legislation to create independent prison oversight in Washington. For more information about the legislation, visit disabilityrightswa.org/independent-corrections-ombuds.